we've really developed over the last few years. We've put ourselves on the map internationally. Then even when I was at school, I wanted to do tuck shop. I used to take 20, 30 cans of cold pop. I used to sell like hotcakes, used to double your money.
If someone came to you and said, Ravi, what's the number one thing when it came to you being a success as a financial planner?
You can have an off day and it depends how you apply yourself.
I want you to express and explain to people how much time you have spent building those foundations and the knowledge and the skills that have allowed you to accelerate really quickly.
There's no reason why you wouldn't do it. And I think that's something that we need to be proud of. That's something that we need to get the word out there. Yeah, having those guys here is so important, and it's pivotal to the company getting to the next step and the next step and the next step. It all comes down to routine. You need to be able to give them your undivided attention, but also you need to be able to give them your full energy.
So Ravi, thanks so much for joining me today on the Hoxton Life podcast, which is our podcast about everybody that's on the Hoxton bus, the journey they've been on. And hopefully you inspire some new people to join our business. And also as well, it's kind of a great way for those within the business to learn from other key people about their experiences, because not often they get to sit on the sofa, but I get that wonderful pleasure to sit on the sofa with you and to find out why you're such a success first.
Well, firstly, thanks for having me, and it's actually exciting having someone like yourself in the business. Been here for quite some time, coming up to 5.5 years, and it's something different in terms of the financial industry. It's quite exciting.
Yeah.
And also educating not just clients, the general public, but also people that want to get into the industry. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
Mate, first person who said that, so I appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. I've got a lot of great ideas that I want to bring into this business. A lot of creativity that's going to open us up as a company to clients, to advisors, to partners. There are so many things I'm excited about. One of them is the big one for me is the DIFC.
Yeah.
I'm super pumped about that. It's huge, man. Like, that to me is so cool. And then I really want to go in there with a story, go in with a bang. So when we throw our hat in the ring, we're here.
Yeah.
This is who we are, and I've got some plans in my head around how to do that.
Okay, interesting.
Already starting to formulate it. How do you feel about that?
I'm excited. It's, it puts us on the map in terms of this region. It's exciting having been in the region. I've only ever known the Middle East, actually.
Yeah.
So I moved out here in 2017, in Qatar, then Abu Dhabi, now Dubai. I would class Dubai as home now for me. So I've been here for just over 4 years. Doesn't make sense to move anywhere else in the world, and then being able to work and operate within the DIFC, the infrastructure that's in place there, the type of clientele that it exposes us to, it's difficult not to be excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of hard work initially, setting the scene. But I think as a company, as a brand, we've really developed over the last few years.
Yeah.
We've put ourselves on the map internationally, but it would be fantastic to put ourselves on the map and cement ourselves on the map locally as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, brilliant way to explain it. And I'm with you on that one. So definitely on that journey with you 100%. I'm glad you're motivated by that, because it motivates the hell out of me as well. Gets my cogs going. So you haven't always been a financial planner.
No.
At Hoxton, okay? So let's just go back to the very beginning, okay? Because most people start thinking about their career and their life and their journey and where they want to go when they're in school. So what was your thinking back then?
So when I was in school and, going towards secondary school, people used to ask me, okay, what are you good at? What do you want to do when you get older? It's quite a difficult question to ask anybody, when they're in the early teens. The main core subject that I was really good at was mathematics. I've always been good with numbers, with money. So I thought, okay, so initially I thought that I wanted to be an accountant. So kind of I went through school. Again, I got to college and I was still very uncertain in which route I wanted to go down. So there was a course that was available, and it was quite new at the time. It's a lot more common now, especially in places like Dubai, called the International Baccalaureate.
Right.
So effectively you're instead of limiting yourself to 2 or 3 year levels, you're basically doing 6. So again, keeping your options open, throwing yourself in the deep end. So you have to do English, you have to do maths again, you have to do a science. So I did physics, which that was pretty tough to say the least. You have to do humanities as well. You have to do a language, so I did Spanish, and then you had to do an additional subject as well. So I ended up doing history and geography, actually. So 16, 17, typically you're meant to go from, say, 10 subjects to 3 to then 1 in uni. But I was still very uncertain in terms of which route I wanted to go down, so I kept it open. As I went through college and sixth form, you would class it as sixth form, yeah? I had a very big business mind. So I created quite a few businesses actually prior to going into sixth form, and then during sixth form, event management, clothing companies. So I was quite entrepreneurial from a young age. So that's when international business management and finance pricked my attention. So that's what I went into in terms of university, and I did a four-year course rather than a 3-year course. The reason for that, I thought, right, going overseas in a third year and having a semester abroad, or going to abroad to go and work, I thought that would be very beneficial prior to going into the workforce. So that's when I ended up going and spending some time in France, in Bordeaux. So that was one semester, and then the other semester was in Hong Kong, in Asia. Again, keeping my options open on the table there. And then it was when I went overseas, and I thought, right, there's a lot more opportunity here outside of the UK. So it's not a traditional route of getting into financial planning of any nature. The only thing I knew that I was good at was numbers, and then I ended up realising that I was quite entrepreneurial. Then I realised that I've got a good business head on me. So you just kind of, opportunities just come along the way.
Yeah.
You just carve a path. I don't think anybody really in their early teens or mid-teens knows exactly what they want to do. Nothing's ever set in stone. You know, if you ask kids when they're younger and they have so many creative and crazy ideas, especially nowadays, I guess it's completely different. You know, the world has evolved in the last 20 years. But yeah, the opportunity of financial advice kind of just fell on my lap as I kind of went through it and looked at international opportunities.
How did it fall on your lap? How did you come to be working in the financial planning sector?
So I guess, obviously, going back to when I was in Hong Kong in particular, there was a lot of international students from the US there. And there was a few different courses that we were taught there, which are completely different to the norm. And one of them was about investment management. And in the UK, that sort of course just isn't taught in university. Well, it wasn't in my university anyway, with business management and finance. And I realised from speaking to these guys that were originally based in the US and they were in very good and well-accredited universities, that there is a lot of opportunity within the finance industry in general. It's not something I was ever exposed to prior to moving overseas. And then a few of them worked at consultancy firms in the US as well, McKinsey being one of them, and I thought, okay, this sounds quite interesting. When I went back to university, I had 2 options in my final year: to do a dissertation or to do a consultancy project. And I thought, actually, this is a little bit more of an interesting experience. I'm all about experiences. I'm all about being hands-on. I would rather be a hands-on approach than just put my head in the books. Yes, it's good, you know, and it's needed in certain times of your career, but I do think you develop and, you know, you can excel at a quicker rate if you're more hands-on and you're tackling solutions and finding solutions for different problems. So going back to how I got into the financial planning side of things, so I found out that, you know, finance is an industry that seemed quite appealing to me. Consultancy was something that I was considering. And then I just looked for international programs that were available overseas in terms of international financial advice. Came across a graduate program, went to a first interview in Birmingham, which isn't too far from where my parents originate from. So I stayed at one of my cousin's house actually before the interview. Had a nice little pep talk with my uncle the night before. Then got on the tram with my cousin, who was also at the time, he was working for KPMG in Birmingham at the time. So that was, again, kind of similar-ish field, you know, within the finance industry. So it was great to speak to some of my older family members who were also within finance as well too. But yeah, got accepted on the graduate program, moved out to Malta for a month, again, exploring a different country. You know, my family always say that I'm quite a jet setter, I guess. You know, I like to experience things, you know, It's good to see what there is outside there in the world. But yeah, ended up going on the graduate program. Was there for 4 weeks. That was pretty intense, to say the least. It was early starts. You need to be in the office by 6:30. Typically, you'd work 12 to 14 hours a day. So they did put you through, some good measures.
Yeah.
Just to kind of see if you were tough enough. And I was fine doing that at the time. I used to work long hours prior to going over there. When I was at uni, then I used to work 2 or 3 different types of jobs. Used to run different types of events as well. So that used to be early starts, late nights, till 2, 3 o'clock anyway, doing that. And then interestingly enough, the interview that I had over the phone in terms of looking at one of the opportunities overseas, because Malta was just a stepping stone to then get put into an international office, and had 2 options on the table then. One was Asia, which was Malaysia. The reason I had that there is because I'd previously been to Hong Kong. I thought, Asia is a very up and coming market back in 2017 when I was there. It still is, obviously Hong Kong's had its difficulties in recent times. But the other call was from Chris, obviously the CEO of Hoxton, and he had a position there in Qatar. 2017, never heard of Qatar at the time. Didn't really know much about the Middle East. But the conversation that I had with Chris, you're going to probably ask me, but can't fully remember how that conversation went. But there was something in there that made me think, right, this guy is who I want to work for. It's quite exciting in terms of the opportunity that's available there. Went back to the UK, graduated, and within a couple of weeks I was on a flight in September over to Qatar. So that's been just over 7 years now.
Thank you. Great rundown.
Yeah, long-winded answer, but we got there in the end.
Oh, brilliant, mate. No, really, really clear. Now, a couple of things I want to pick out here. One is you've been a real success at Hoxton, that's for sure. Okay. You articulated so well some of the traits that you have, which I think are the reasons why you've been a success. I just want to pick apart a few of them. So you've got the entrepreneurial side to you. Give me a breakdown on the entrepreneurial side of you, because people who are listening need to understand that there are certain traits that make you a success in financial planning, and you have them in abundance. So one of them you've already explained, which is your academia, your ability to apply yourself and learn, and to study, which I think is a great indicator of structuring your day, the ability to absorb knowledge, to be able to repeat it, to pass tests, which are really required when you do your qualifications and CPD within this space. Aptitude for learning, I think that's really important. I think the other side that you kind of touched on was the entrepreneurial side, which I think is really, really important. I think work ethic is really, really important. Now, talk to me about your entrepreneurialism and your work ethic. At what age and where and what?
Where it all slots in. So I think, if you speak to anybody, right, and you go back to the basics and you go back to the start, it comes to your family. So I was very fortunate. I've got a lovely family, a very big family on both sides, both my mother's side and my father's side. In terms of my father, he's a very hard-working guy, works again. Him himself, he works 10 to 14 hours a day. So seeing that from a young age, and he still does it today as well, it sticks with you. And I think the hard work has definitely come from my dad. And the soft approach, the manners, has come from my mum. So every time you used to go to family members, she's like, make sure you say please, thank you, give a hug, 2 hands, like you mean it. No half-hearted stuff. So all of that's come from family traits, which I think is really important, and that kind of develops and builds a person initially. And then as you grow older, as long as you've got your core values, you've got a good heart, you're respectable, you're kind, it's difficult really to feel if you do apply yourself properly. So I think family values is really, really important.
I'd agree. Brilliant. Sounds like you had a wonderful upbringing and some very great role models that taught you respect as well. And I think that's hard to come by. So hats off to the parents.
Yeah.
Now talk to me a little bit about this entrepreneurial streak that you had.
So I guess family businesses that we've got back home, it's off licenses, post offices, these types of businesses. So from a young age, I used to work in the store from when I was like 11, 12, from when I was able to walk really. I was fortunate for I never used to have to pay for anything in the shop, and a lot of friends at school, you know, they used to get jealous if you're coming in with the new chocolate, the new crisp that just got launched, and it's on the TV, and you're getting it for free, which is quite cool. But since a young age, you know, I've always wanted to try and earn my own keep and earn my own money as well. So first role I had, similar to probably most people, was a paper boy. But my dad didn't used to deliver papers. So I used to walk past another store on the way to school, and one day I popped into that store and I said, "Have you got any paper jobs?" And I think I was 12 at the time. He said, "You're too young, you're going to have to come back when you're 13. I was a bit good, but then he put me on the list, and then I ended up doing that. And my dad was like, "Why are you going elsewhere for money?" I was like, "Well, you're only going to pay a certain amount, I'll get more there as well." So I used to do kind of both jobs that way. I've always wanted to try and, you know, be entrepreneurial. I've only wanted to ever ask my parents for so much, you know. They put me through good schooling and, as well, which again is really important, going back to the academia side. But then even when I was at school, you know, I've wanted to do tuck shops and try and generate revenue that way, because I could get items from my dad from wholesale and then put a markup on it and sell it in school. Like on a PE day, for example, you know, I used to take 20, 30 cans of cold pop that used to sell like hotcakes, used to double your money.
Yeah.
So just seeing what different opportunities there are, right, and like earning a little bit and a little bit on top of it, and it's quite exciting actually. And I used to trade cards, you know, because we had the store, so friends used to know where we were based, so they used to come to us. There's loads of different stuff. Then I went into event management when I was 15. There was a new club that opened in the city where we were. Me and a couple of my friends asked them, "Look, what's the rate to rent the club out?" They give us a rate. I think it was only like £300-400. So we got a DJ in, started selling tickets. Got 300 people there at our first event. Then we grew it up year on year. I think the biggest one we had was about 1,500 people. So we did that for a few years. Then went to sixth form, carried it on in sixth form. Then went to university, carried event management on in university. So I like working with people. I like working within teams. You know, but I like doing fun stuff as well.
Yeah.
You know, so like event management was quite cool. You know, it's something a bit different. You used to meet so many different people off the back of it. Then we ended up creating a clothing brand off the back of that, because there was an opportunity, because you're speaking to a lot of people, right? You just end up finding different types of niches or things that you can do. It's called cliche actually, so it was quite cliche at the time. But yeah, I think I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit and that mindset, just to do a bit more, right? Because when you're at school, you know, you've got 8 hours at school, you've got loads of free time. You just go out with your friends every now and then, but what else could you be doing? I weren't really a person that's going to sit there in front of the TV or the Xbox or the PlayStation at the time for hours on end. If I had family round, you know, I might for a little bit, but in my free time, I'd rather be out and about and doing something positive.
Gaining experience. Brilliant. Love that. I'm impressed massively. That's so cool. And it just ties in with the thinking, like it's like how do we attract really good people to Hoxton? And I think it is looking at their past, and I think it is going deeper than, you know, your patch job, for example, right?
Yeah.
Or looking at them and thinking, well, what can you do? What do you think you're going to be able to do?
Yeah.
And you're almost kind of wanting someone to tell you what they're going to do, whereas not. It's like, can you reflect, please? Can you tell me what you've done?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what you learned along the way? What, you know, tell me about your personality. How did you overcome challenges?
Yeah.
When did you first work? Why? You know, how much did you earn? How did you build relationships as a kid? What was your approach to study? What were your family like?
Yeah.
I think these are all really important questions that we can ask to be able to determine what somebody's mindset is before they start the job. Because mindset is it's all about mindset, isn't it? This type of role, right? And
it's huge. Like you can have an off day, and it depends how you apply yourself. You know, you can either bury your head in the sand, or take a step back, understand what went wrong, learn from it,
yeah.
and tomorrow's a new day.
You look great, by the way. Not coming on to you, but you look great physically. So you obviously put a lot of energy and effort into your physical body as well. So talk to me about that and what impact that has on you and your discipline.
Yeah. It all comes down to routine, Sam, you know, and a lot of people have asked me this in the office, you know, what do you do? But I think one of the key components of all this is knowing what time, or understanding what time should you go to bed. For example, we go to bed between 10 and 10:30, and I need about 6 to 7 hours maximum. Probably I can do 6 quite easily. So if I can go to bed by 10:30, I'm up, 5:30, and it means I can get to the gym and in the gym by 6 o'clock. Now, you also work out, we've had conversations about that before, and, being out here, it's quite difficult not to. It's very motivational, the type of people that you're surrounded by. So yeah, being able to get to the gym by 6 allows you to get to the office by 8, and you've achieved something by the time you get to that office. Most of my day is spent speaking to new clients, new prospects, and existing prospects. You need to be able to give them your undivided attention, but also you need to be able to give them your full energy in everything that you're doing within the role. Because it can be quite a stressful role, but I think setting your day up right and starting right will allow you to excel throughout that day and continue excelling throughout the day. Like most of the time, I don't normally finish till about, say, 7, 8 o'clock, and I'll call home. I'm speaking to the family, and I think, well, I've been up actually 14 hours, 16 hours, but I actually still feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I still feel as though I'll go and probably do another six meetings after this. But I think all of that comes down to what are you eating, what are you feeding your body with. So I've got a coach, performance coach, who tracks all my food, tracks all my lifts in the gym on his app. So I find value in investing into a coach who's developed a plan for me. So then I understand why clients would find value in investing in a financial planner to build a financial plan with them. So health and wealth really marry up. And if you can get a good combination of both of them, obviously the health side's on yourself, which typically will promote the wealth side. But if you're coming across to a client with full energy, giving them your undivided attention, them understanding that you're there for the long term for them, and you're working on yourself in the background, it's all these little things which add up. The 1%, everything just kind of clicks.
Yeah.
And I can't vouch enough on how important it is to exercise.
Yeah. I'd agree
and the
with
benefits of it.
I agree with you. Well, you've also, one of the knock-on effects of that is your mental health, right? And how you approach each day.
Yeah.
It has such a positive effect on you and your energy levels. And when you go into a role which is high intensity, when you're in a country which is growth mindset, which is capitalist, which is everybody's pushing forward, everybody wants to do more. We had a conversation about you almost have to train like an athlete.
Yeah.
Right? When you see like Formula One racing drivers and they are stacked, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I always think like, well, they just sat on their ass just driving around a car, but obviously it's intense.
Yeah.
But they're built like they're physically built, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I've always thought like the best I've ever been in my life is in the last 5.5 years. I gave up drinking 5.5 years ago. Now, when I gave up drinking, I put a lot of time and energy into my mental health and a lot of time and energy into my physical health. And of course, one of the things that you identified was sleep. I put a lot of time into my sleep and I prioritized sleep. So when I asked you that question and you went to prioritizing sleep, first of all, I knew that you weren't just talking shit. I knew that you actually knew what you were talking about and that you prioritized sleep first of all, and you'd even worked out what was the amount required for you to be optimum for you.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Massively.
Regular sleep patterns, undisturbed, and going to bed at the right time each night is so important. And when I started doing all of that, the knock-on effect and the benefits of that, it didn't happen overnight, but over time, it gets better and better.
It's like
and better.
with everything, right? You have to be consistent with it. And you can't just go to the gym for a couple of days and then sack it off for a week, or I'll go again on Monday. There needs to be an element of discipline, accountability, and consistency. And I always explain this to my clients as well. From the planning side of things, we're not product salespeople. You know, we don't just set a product up for a client, set and forget. You know, let you on your way. That clients come to you for a specific purpose and a specific reason because they need help with developing a plan. So that's why we have the regular review meetings, the ongoing accountability. Holding that, we even need to hold them accountable in terms of what they said that they would do. They need to hold us accountable in terms of what we said that we would do. So, it's difficult to explain, but the health side and the wealth side, I feel as though putting that together and marrying it up, like it can just explode in a good way.
Mate, I'm all over that. I'm a firm believer. Health and wealth are combined without a shadow of a doubt. And it's like when you hear the word holistic, right? It's true. Like there's the wheel of life. So if you put your finances into the wheel of life, if you did 100% just thought about your finances all the time, you're probably not going to be a very healthy person, right?
Yeah.
So in your wheel of life, you have a piece for finance. How much time and energy am I putting into my finances? And you might have another thing which is important. So you could be family. So
yeah, you need an element of personal life as well, you know, which...
Life. Yeah, that wheel of life, you dedicate, right, what are the pillars, what are the things that are most important to me and how much of my time am I spending in it? Because if you spend too much time in one, it can, screws up the other one.
Yeah, it can burn you out, right, if you're spending too much. And that's why I do have periodic holidays as well, kind of planned throughout the year. This year has been a bit of a anomaly. I think I've done about 8 or 9 holidays.
Have you?
Yeah. For kind of all for different reasons, to be fair. Some of them weren't specifically holidays. There were trips away for specific purposes. Some were work related, some were family related, some were with my partner. So it was a good little mix, to be fair.
You're one of the most successful, if not most successful financial planner on the Hoxton pathway, which is like a trainee financial planner to planner route, okay?
Yeah.
After you've been a trainee wealth manager, where you spent a long time, and we're going to get onto that bit and the importance of that part of the role, okay? And you just told me you've had 9 different holidays within the last year. So you prioritize that and you structure that into your year. Do you plan that at the beginning of the year when you get how do you work that out? And because that's one of the things I've always struggled with in my life is taking holiday.
Yeah.
And I think it's not through lack of wanting to go on holiday. It's lack of planning.
Yeah. So some holidays, they are set in stone, or trips are set in stone from the year before. For example, if I look at next year, I know that I've got one friend's wedding in September and a family wedding in May. So that's specific purposes that what I need to go back home to the UK for. I try to go back to the UK twice a year. So I have some family in the northeast of England, some in the Midlands, and some in London as well. So, I don't go to all 3 every year. It's a bit challenging, although this year I have. But normally I'll try and get 2 trips home. I'll do a trip in the summer with my partner. I'll probably do a trip with my friends. So this year I did a trip with my work friends for Kane's 30th. Last year I did a trip with my friends from back home. So I've still got a very close-knit community with my mates from back home, back in not even sixth form, from secondary school. So that's how tight we were as a group. So I'll normally do a family holiday, couple of trips back to the UK, and then one with friends, and then probably one with my partner, and then I might do an additional one in there, depending on how the year plans out.
Another thing I'm picking up on you in a trait, right, which is obvious, is you're very organised. You're very structured, and you've got processes, haven't you? And you work to those. Can I ask you a question? Like, do you feel uncomfortable if those processes or structures are changed?
Yeah. Okay. To a certain degree, depends on how big of a change it is.
Yeah.
If there's something where I can pivot, then that's fine. If there's something which is out of my control, then I just need to suck it up, understand what I need to do to overcome it. But I'm always in my comfort zone, I guess, to be fair, if I've got an element of control and that process going smoothly.
Yeah.
If things are going smoothly, all the boxes are ticked off, everything's fine and dandy, and we're on to a winner, going in the right direction. But it's life, right? There's always going to be peaks and troughs along the way. You've got to be able to understand how to adapt. But, I'm not someone that makes rash decisions either. I'll take a step back, okay, consider, right, what do I need to do to make this work? And then just get it done, really.
If someone came to you and said, Ravi, what's the number one thing? What would you put as top priority when it came to you being a success as a financial planner? What would you say somebody should think about first of all?
I would say organisation in terms of an actual process. But hard work, I think, is also extremely important, marrying them up. But the reason why I'm saying being organised is because, for example, this week I've sat down with 30 different people, over the course of 5 days, so it's averaged about 6 a day this week. Being able to give them your undivided attention and then being able to then go and speak to your team about different tasks that need to be done for each of those people, being able to understand who needs a report, who needs a letter of authority sent out, who needs X, Y, Z. If you're not organised, trying to deal with all that, either at the end of the day or trying to deal with it at the end of the week, you're not going to remember what happened yesterday, never mind Monday. So I typically don't leave that office until all of my notes have been done for that day and all my follow-ups have been done. So I can go into the next day, clear your mind, see who I've got to speak to today and get that done.
Super organised.
Yeah.
Don't when you put your head on the pillow and you've got things you've got to do, does that?
Yeah, you feel right. I've had a good day of work, all my tasks have been completed, all the clients are happy, everyone knows where they stand. Good night.
You wouldn't leave that office then, would you, without knowing that?
No, unless dinner is ready, I'll get home for dinner and then I'll finish off. But I try not to take my laptop out when I'm at home on an evening if I can stop it. There is a couple of exceptions, obviously, if you've had an email come in from Australia late at night. So for example, this morning I was up at 4 o'clock because Australia have got quite a lot of clients over there. They're 7 hours ahead at the moment. If you're waking up at 4 o'clock, you've got client emails and urgent things that come up. You can't physically go back to sleep and switch off. It's impossible. So I'd rather just get up and get it done and crack on with the day.
Yeah, I get you. Cool. You started off at Hoxton as a trainee wealth manager, what's called a trainee wealth manager, which is the bit that precedes the pathway, which is like a trainee financial planner, where you're qualified and then you're going off to see clients, right? Now, a lot of people kind of think, I've got qualifications, I should be a financial planner straight away, right? I want to be a financial planner straight away. Now, what I like about Hoxton, what drew me in, was this trainee wealth manager route and the energy and the effort that is put into training more often than not the next generation. So people probably under 25 years old to be the best versions of themselves they can be and the best financial planners they can be in the long term. So it's that early energy and effort put into the right processes and the right systems to make it a success. You are a really successful financial planner in the early stages of their career, and I've got no doubt you're going to be an absolute top performer in that international space without a shadow of a doubt, right? I want you to express and explain to people how much time you've spent in that earlier stage of your career, building those foundations and the knowledge and the skills that have allowed you to accelerate really quickly as a financial planner. Yeah.
So I think what's really important before you get into the industry, and I'm all open to people dropping me a message and asking questions about it. This is a career, that you're signing up for. Basically, it's not a get rich quick scheme. Which Chris has alluded to, in Dubai, there's probably quite a lot of those. For example, real estate, within 3 to 5 years, you'll probably be pretty much set up for most of your life, where you need to understand what financial planning is all about before you get into it, or have at least a good idea. When I first got into it, typically on the graduate program, they said, right, you'll do around 18 to 24 months of the training, and then you'll end up stepping up to be a full financial planner. So they had I thought it was achievable, and I've been quite fortunate whereby I've been under Chris's management, but then I've been working alongside Tom, and Tom's been my manager and an advisor that I worked alongside for 5 years, which in the grand scheme of things is a pretty long time. but it was fantastic working underneath him, learning from him. You know, he was previously Chris's business development manager, and they were the best in the industry at the time. And being able to learn from both of them is such an opportunity within itself. But then now I feel as though I'm in a position where I can then help Raj, for example, who's in my team, and some of the other business development managers by passing down some of the lessons, some of the traits that I was taught. So that's something which is quite fortunate within the industry and within Hoxton and within the team. Everyone is very inclusive. So you can go to anybody on that sales floor or drop anyone a message who isn't in the office, and they'll give you 5 minutes of their time, which is really important when you are learning, when you're developing. Even a lot of the senior guys, they're still open to asking questions because the industry evolves and adapts. 3 to 5 years ago, we were primarily doing pension transfers. Now we are still helping people with them, and we still do a lot of transfers, but we've kind of went back a step and we're looking at things holistically. That's actually how we originally started at the other firm that I was with initially, but because there was such an opportunity with pensions, we kind of pivoted away from that. But going back to the question, understanding that it's a career, understanding you're not here for a short time, 3 to 5 years. The average relationship for a financial advisor and a client in the UK is between 20 and 30 years. Mm-hmm. So that in itself tells you that this is a career. It's not, something that you're going to dip in and dip out of. And the longer that you do it, the bigger clientele and the book that you can build up, the bigger assets that you get under management. And, typically life will become a lot more easier, post 5, 6, 7, 8 years in the industry. Doesn't mean, you're going to go and switch off. It's completely up to you, but you can double down and keep going, which is probably the route that I'll go down. I've still got plenty of years ahead of me, plenty more people to help, especially in this industry. It's booming, it's growing, it's going in the right direction. So it's exciting.
In that BD role, and you did it for 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Give us a brief overview of what you did in that role, why you chose to spend 5 years in it, because you chose that, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, I got another question.
Yeah. So typically I took it year by year. When I started, I didn't think, right, I'm going to be in this for 5 years. And I had that agreement with Tom, post the second year, I'll do my level 4 exams. So I got them completed. Then post the third year, I did my level 6 pension exam. So I thought actually, and he did explain to me as well, which I'm very fortunate for. He said, try and do your exams now whilst you've got a bit more freedom and flexibility to get them done, because once you step up as an advisor, it's going to be very difficult to claim that time back. I still used to work, 50, 60, sometimes 70 hours a week, because I used to work a Sunday every now and then, because Qatar, Saudi, we used to do a lot of business there, which we still do. It's a working day for them. I can only go to the beach for so long, an hour or two. I love my sports as well, but on a Sunday, when I was in Abu Dhabi, there wasn't loads of things to do. So I was like, right, I might as well go to work and, see who needs some help. And we used to get loads of inquiries in that region as well. So, yeah, I took it year by year. But after the third year, I agreed. I said, look, let's give it another year. So that fourth year was going to potentially be the last year before I stepped up. Got my level 6 exams done. Pension game was still very strong. We still had a very healthy pipeline. So we had a discussion towards the back end of Q4 in that fourth year. Do I take the step, or do I give him another full year? And, we try to go for our biggest year. And the pension game was still so strong. We still had a big pipeline, and I thought actually, right, let's create a plan, for me to then be able to step over in after the fifth year, which he then agreed to. So we agreed to get taken on a certain amount of clients during that year, and then he will then give me 20 clients for me to then start my career with a base rather than starting from zero. So that was, I guess, good thinking a bit on my side, and a good agreement with Tom and a fair agreement on his side, which I'm very fortunate for, and that's something that I would then put in stone for Raj, and I've already explained that to him.
Nice.
So that's something new that we could potentially bring in to the industry. So you're not starting on zero. You know, you've got a buffer, you've got clients to service, people to help, and then you know you work
giving back as well.
Yeah.
Love that, by the way, mate. This is a great conversation because recently I had a bit of a conversation with Chris about the Trainee Wealth Manager role, and about how to kind of slightly change it in line with the type of people that we want to come into the business. So as I'm doing this, I'm literally doing my market research with you, and everything you're saying is immense, and I'm learning loads of new things as well. But it's also solidifying my thinking.
Okay, good.
And it's good to hear it from your perspective. I want to just focus now on the bit where you trained, you're training Raj, and how Tommy trained you. For you in your career, how important is it to be mentored and to mentor others?
Okay, so going back to the first question, let's talk about being mentored first, and then mentoring others, because I think it fits in quite nicely. So within any role that you've got, you know, globally, whether it's in the financial services industry, you know, whether it's in construction, engineering, oil and gas, there's always someone that you need to learn from. And that even starts from being in school, right? You've got the teacher, you learn from them. It starts from when you're born, you've got your parents, they teach you. So everything that you do in life, there is someone that has walked your path prior to you. So rather than you making all the mistakes yourself, you know, learning and adapting and from other people, and then following their footsteps, especially people that have been successful, someone who's a role model for you, someone who, you know, you want to follow their career journey. And, you know, if I can follow Tom's career journey in terms of where he's started and where he is right now, you know, I'll be more than pleased. You know, he's went from strength to strength year on year. And again, he's a kind guy. He's got a good heart, good family values, you know, competitive edge, quite similar to me. So if you've got someone who've got the similar traits to you, it's quite easy to mentor them, especially if they're open to learning, wanting to listen. Like, for example, Raj on his own back, you know, within the first couple of weeks, he's like, right, can we come in on Sundays? Let's get the whiteboard out. Can you explain this product to me? Can you explain this to me? Can you explain that? So we used to spend a lot of time training outside of normal working hours. So I could see that he was eager to learn. When someone's eager to learn, you're eager to teach them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If someone's willing to learn and, you know that you can mentor them, better them, there's no reason why you wouldn't do it. And I've seen that single-handedly, over the last 18 months. A lot of the senior guys, I've reached out to them and they've given me, 5-10 minutes of their time within, 24 to 40 hours of me asking them. And they can probably understand if someone is willing to learn, they're happy to give their time and devote their time because they want them to do well as well, which goes back to the Hoxton Life, the ethos, no one's got a big ego. Everyone is pushing each other in the right direction. And I think that's something that we need to be proud of. That's something that we need to get the word out there, that there's no egos, no dickheads, as Chris says, and everyone's moving in the right direction with the right purpose. Is that a bit of a mix of both questions in one, or is that more
good.
The mentor?
No, that's good. The teaching others, has that enhanced your journey when it comes to your, say, client development side and focus in the work arena? Has it sharpened your sword?
It has massively, because I'm educating Raj, for example, on processes and in terms of products, in terms of solutions, and why I'm speaking to clients about certain types of solutions. That then allows me to speak to that client and explain those solutions to them in simple format. Because the fact of the matter is, not everybody is financially literate. There's a lot of senior people out there which are extremely good in their role, but when it comes to their personal finances, it's easy to kick that can down the road. You can deal with it next year. You can deal with it next year. Especially moving somewhere like here, there's a lot of distractions, especially if you've got personal family life. for example, with the pension side of things or with the financial planning side of things, you sit down with people, they've been here 3, 4, 5 years. They've been earning nearly double, triple what they're earning in the UK, and they're barely saving month on month. It's like trying to educate them and going back a couple of steps. What you earn, you shouldn't go and spend. Yes, you earn a higher income, but you need to have some element of discipline, accountability. So explaining that, for example, to Raj and the reason why we do certain plans, and then being able to then explain that to clients, it marries up quite nicely. Because you don't want to go to a client and give them loads of technical jargon, because it's going to go over their head, it's going to confuse them, and you're probably not going to work with that client going forward.
Yeah.
So you need to simplify things, map it out. Again, that's why I have these processes in place. And some of them you might be able to go at it with a quicker pace depending on the individual that you're speaking to. Sometimes you might have to repeat the meeting twice. If they don't understand something, or if they've got the partner involved and they don't understand something. But going into any business relationship with any of my clients, going back to the core values of there being, clarity, having that convenience of someone to actually speak to. Because UK pensions, as an example, is a myth buster. It's technical jargon. People bring their statements to the meeting. They have no idea what they really mean. They'll get a statement once a year, they'll check it, they'll file it, and 12 months will go, they'll get another one, they'll do the same. But right now, especially with the budget and some of the changes, I think in recent times, people have been a little bit more open now to actually investing a bit of time to understand what have they got, what assets have they worked hard to build up, and how does this fit into the bigger picture. So I think that's really important on the education side, and that's when we do the seminars, we do the webinars. We're not just product salespeople. We're trying to educate our clients and get them, bought into the journey of having a financial plan and helping them understand the rationale, the reason, and going through that journey together, which is very exciting. And that's something which, I really love. And we probably come to the app in a moment, but that I think is going to be a game changer.
We'll get onto the app. I'm just really enjoying talking to you about the process and the journey that you've been on that's made you a success, and the things that you've done along the way and that you're doing for others, right? You're a really interesting combination between highly driven, goal-orientated, competitive, which often can get messed up with greed. Right? Some people often would be like kind of almost like, oh, they're greedy, they're just money hungry and all of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you've got this kind of beautiful compassion and understanding, wellness, and recognition that what you're doing for a living is helping others, and that it's complicated, full of jargon, and that you want to explain it in a way that is simplifying a problem that can cause somebody quite a lot of stress and worry, right?
Yeah.
And then not only that are you doing that for the client, but you've got the awareness to be able to teach Raj that. One, because it gives you the opportunity to practice, right? And because if he understands it, then it works.
Yeah.
And then as well that he's going to be articulating it in that way.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that, there again, like you got your dad, driven, businessman, entrepreneur, hard worker, good man by the sounds of it, that you looked up to and respected. You got mentors like Chris. You've got mentors like Tommy, right? All these good male role models. And I think within this, and I'm getting a bit deeper, but it's your mum, right?
Yeah.
She's compassionate. She's caring. She's taught you to be a good human being. And these characteristics of you are
following through.
Like they're following through, and I can see.
Yeah, you don't really think about that until you actually start to speak to somebody about it. Like, as I said, this is the first podcast I've done. You'll speak to friends and family about what do you do as a job now and then when you go home, or if you've been traveling, but you never really get deep into the nuts and bolts and the cracks of it all.
And I think you're living it, and like you're an anomaly. Actually, there isn't many people that have that awareness like you have, which is why I'm really interested in talking to you, and I'm going to talk to you more because you're like it's an anomaly. You're coming across as a freaking great human being, mate. It's good. When you go from being like a trainee wealth manager, right, and which is heavily prospecting focused and teaches you how to go out and win clients and to educate them and to recognize the ways to explain to them that there are ways that we can help them with their finances that are going to make their life better, right? That's the beautiful thing about it, right? Byproduct of that is you get better at your job, win new clients, et cetera, make some money as well, right? There is a byproduct there, which is a financial gain, because the better you are at your job doing it the right way, the more you can earn because you're more assets under management. That's the model of being a financial planner, right?
Yeah.
Now, there is a part of this process as well where, things like administration and power planning is a big part of it.
Huge.
Did you make sure that before you moved across into becoming a financial planner that you understood the power planning report writing element side of it? Did you do that as well?
Yes, I think, I'm quite fortunate where I've got a very good relationship with pretty much everybody in the business. And from an admin perspective, when I was working with Tom, we had Kim as our admin, and she's a machine, she's a powerhouse. She's so knowledgeable in terms of all the processes. So I used to, speak to her a lot, on a daily basis, understand how that works. Tom had a power planner in Ryan. So again, I used to speak to him quite a lot when I was a BD, understand how, the FE analytics works, all the presentation side of things. So I used to get myself involved with absolutely everything, all the key components. But then when you move into, the financial advice side of things, it's like a mini business within a business, basically. And it was so important that I had my team around me and my structure. So within the first, 3 to 6 months, I ended up getting my own business development manager, got an admin on board. We have power planners that we work alongside internally throughout the company. So each of the components in the business are well structured and established. Because I understand I can't manage all my clients by myself. It's not just me managing my clients. And yesterday it was actually quite funny when I was speaking to a client about what the full process is, and he's like, "Wow, you've got a full team behind you." I was like, "Yeah, it's not just me. I'm not a one man band."
Yeah.
And right now, there's so many cogs to the business. If you look at the marketing element, you've got the account team, you've got the finance team, you've got, so I guess yourself within creative, the power planners. They do a fantastic job. Although what the client sees as you as a financial planner, it's important that they understand that there's a backbone and a structure behind you. And I can go into all those meetings that I have during the week knowing that I've got the team behind me that can process all these cases. If everyone gives us the green light this week, it would be nice if they did, but if everyone gives us the green light, we've got the infrastructure in place where we can get these clients onboarded, we can do a good job for them, but importantly, we maintain that level of service. Servicing, we're in the business of servicing, right? So maintaining those clients, those relationships, you need these key components around you within your team to keep that service level high of a excellent standard. We don't just want to be good, we want to be top tier, and that's why we've ended up taking on quite a lot of clients in recent times, from other firms. A lot of it is down to being underserviced. But
change of agencies type thing.
Yeah, but they might not invest in their team and their support system and their infrastructure, which we've been doing from day one.
Yeah, no, I agree. You've got insane process there at Hoxton Wealth, and it's one of the things that when I looked under the bonnet, I was really keen on, really interested, because it was way better than in my head I thought it was.
Yeah,
brings us onto the app. You're a younger guy, you're a younger financial planner. Technology is being really underutilized within the financial planning profession. Hoxton with their wealth app and wealth flow, which is like cash flow forecasting. We're not allowed to say that, but it's cash flow forecasting. And the fact that we got a team of 25 in the tech development side.
They're all sound, approachable people. We do a lot of testing with them. Naj, I've known him since day one. We're like a little, well, not little now, it's a big community. Every other day it's someone's birthday, everyone's happy birthday, there's cakes that come in, donuts, although don't eat the donuts being on the health conscious side of things, but everyone's so inclusive. you know, it is a big family, and you know, when we do the awards evening, it's fantastic for the recognition to be there. But yeah, having those guys here
Yeah.
on the ground is so important, and it's pivotal to the company getting to the next step and the next step and the next step.
There is a long-term incentive plan that's been brought in as well, isn't there? So an LTIP,
Yeah.
and we're all part of that and the growth of the business, and we are part of the reward of the growth of the business percentage. How motivated do you think that is motivating? Is that for you to know that you're going to share in the profits and the success of Hoxton?
Yeah, massively. Like, you know, even at the beginning of the year, you know, we did know that was in fruition, you know, of getting completed, and appreciate, you know, it's probably been very complex to get it set up. But even when that wasn't a thing, right, and, you know, you're building up your client base, you've got a high purpose, you're driving towards, you know, a bigger end goal, and then having that dropped into the mix of it all, you know, it just accelerates everybody, I think, even more in terms of giving more, giving back more, you know, investing more energy into the business, and it's extremely exciting. You know, it's very generous of the partners to do that, and you know, fair play to them. But then it shows that they back the business as well, you know, and where it's going, and they're putting everything and all their energy into it as well, which 9 times out of 10 will be passed on to that employee, and they'll be on that same Hoxton bus which we're talking about, pedal to the metal, going full force.
Ravi, I could literally speak to you all day because genuinely, I'm interested in talking to you more. I've got to bring this podcast to the end.
No worries, part one.
I think what we've learned, part one. I think what I've learned, and I think what people will learn, is what does it take to be a financial planner? How much energy and effort is required?
Yeah.
How much dedication? What type of person can come in with an experience that they might have pre-graduate scheme even, right?
Yeah.
What are the characteristics? What are the traits that make somebody a success? To come on in, to work through and take their time and do it properly and understand this isn't a get-rich-quick scheme, and trust and belief in the process that one day you will be wealthy, you will earn well in this business, and there is a process that we can take people on all the way up until exiting out of the business. And for one, we are a business where if someone did exit and they built a client book, they can have a cash event at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's not just for the self-employed.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
accessible to everybody within this business. So for me, you're living and breathing the Hoxton values, and you are the Hoxton Life. And I'm very, very interested to delve deeper into what makes Ravi such a huge success, because I think there's more layers and more layers.
Yeah.
But I also think you simplify it in a way that is, what's the word? You interest me. And I think someone would listen to this and be like, that's interesting, that's clear, I understand what I need to do.
Yeah.
I think that comes from you have a distinct lack of, which is a good thing, entitlement. You do not come across as an entitled individual.
No.
You come across as somebody who is hugely grateful and respectful of what they have in this life and in this environment that has given you the tools and the ability and the knowledge to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Good summary.
That does.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. I feel like you see what you are in as an opportunity, not something that isn't giving you something.
Yeah, this day and age, you know, you can't be fed with a silver spoon, and you know, if you can do it yourself, you're able to then pass on those values and traits to the next generation, and hopefully we'll end up with a better environment, a better universe. You know, there's obviously quite a lot of changes that need to be done globally, which are out of our control, but we can only, you know, help build up the environment that we work in, you know, we live in, we breathe in, you know, day in, day out. I think, yeah, it's really important.
I love it. Ravi, thanks so much for your time today, mate. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and thanks for joining us on the Hoxton Life.
Thank you very much, Sam.